welcome to Inside Times with Cynthia White and Hiro Ito. We're coming to you live from Kids Hurt 2, Hawaii, and want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in and watching today's show. So, how are you doing, Hiro?
Good.
Good?
Just, a lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes going on all over, yeah?
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about change and what change is.
Okay.
I covered this, in the series on grief, because a lot of times people think that grief is only something you have like right after a death or because of a death. But in fact, grief is how we respond to change. And change is loss. And change is happening all over the world. We have been thrust into unwanted change for our own protection, for the protection of others, for the health of our community. And so for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. It doesn't mean I don't grieve, because change is loss. And loss evokes grief. And so change is a grieving process. So, we know that even positive change evokes grief.
Moving to Hawaii.
Moving to Hawaii, pretty positive. Having a baby, getting married.
Graduation, we just had
a lot of graduations, lots of change around graduations. So it's, change never stops. We're always going through changes, positive changes, negative changes. But we don't always recognize that we're grieving because of those changes. We don't recognize that children are grieving because of changes in their lives. We just see their behavior. And I think understanding children's grief is really important, especially for Kids Hurt 2 Hawaii, because they express grief in a very different way. You and I can talk about the emotional stress, the physical stress, the psychological stress, but children, they just behave because they're in the moment. They're living in the moment. So for children, often, their grief is expressed in the moment, and we may not always recognize that it's related to some change in the past, some loss in the past, because it's happening in the moment. And this is the important thing to understand about grief in general, Hiro, is that grief can only happen in the moment because it's in our bodies. And in our bodies live in the present, in the here and now. Yes, the loss may have occurred
happened a long time ago.
50 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 months ago. That's right. I was thinking about that today because this June is your mother's birthday.
20th is my mother's birthday.
June 20th.
And then my Father's Day come up next day.
Father's Day is the next
father's
day.
birthday. He's going to be 95 years old. And then I cannot be there.
Yeah.
It's June 28th.
Yeah.
So
a lot of things happening this month that reminds us of changes in our life. Father's Day coming up for me. Both of my dads died. While I'll probably mostly honor the father who cared for me and showed me love, it's still, my biological father died this year. And, I do want to acknowledge him because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have life. So it's just a different kind of loss in terms of that. Not a whole lot changed because I was estranged from him. We didn't have a relationship. So in some ways, and so in some ways, not a lot changed as a result of his death, and but a lot changed as a result of my stepdad's death, who I called Dad. So really, how intense your grief is, the elements of it, the parts that kind of express themselves in the moment, are relevant to how connected you were, how much change occurs around a loss, which is why we recommend, if people ask, that try, if children have a parent die or parents go through divorce, try to minimize the number of changes in that first year because that's huge change. If you add more change to that, then you're increasing the difficulty that children are going to have coping with that change.
Yeah, but 95, I don't know, 90+% of children who come to Kitsap to Hawaii, including teens, father died, separated from
Right.
father.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Separated
Yeah.
or father died, they're single parent families with mother's primary caregiver. It's most of the kids that we see, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case in society as a whole, but maybe in terms of who brings children to a support program
Lots of mother.
is, it seems to be more likely to be the mother. And fathers, kind of have that, the culture of tough it out, don't talk about it. But in fact, men do grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say men grieve differently from women because in fact everybody grieves in their own unique way.
Even dogs.
Even dogs.
My puppy, even babies.
And babies grieve. I mean, everybody has their own process, and so it's not really fair to differentiate based on gender or species or ethnicity. Everybody's different, or age. They're all grief is unique, but it's also healthy, and it is a natural process, and that's the key. So even now in these stressful times with the pandemic and all the changes that are happening as a result of that, there's a lot of grief in our state, and I would imagine in the world as a result of this. A lot of change has been happening, and some of these changes are, you can't even measure them. There's so many of them. And so as a result of the fact that there are so many, job loss, can't go to school,
can't graduate
can't graduate.
used to,
there are just
old
so
time.
many of them that we can't really say that it's harder for one person over another. Over the years, people would always ask me, what is the hardest grief? What is the hardest thing to grieve? The hardest loss to grieve? And I gave everybody the same answer that I learned from working with grieving people, and that is that the hardest loss is your own, because that's the one you have to live. And so everybody is grieving in their own unique way. There's Naomi. Hey, how you doing, Naomi? Welcome. Thanks for tuning in.
I find out you live in the mainland. I got a lot of pictures of you, so I gotta email you the pictures.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're going through some changes too, because many people are, if not everyone. So thinking about change, I remember I was teaching a course to a group of college students.
In Japan?
In Japan.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah.
But because I've taught different colleges in different places, but this one in particular.
Busan College.
And I was teaching about grief and the fact that losses change, and grief evokes, change evokes grief, loss evokes grief. And this one student came up to me one day and said, I think I got it. I think I understand what you're saying, because that morning he had planned on wearing his favorite jeans. This is the story he told me. He had planned on wearing his favorite jeans, but they weren't dry yet. He'd hung them out and they didn't quite get dry. So then he was sure he went through a grieving process, because he had to adapt. He had to figure out, how to cope with this change. And he was upset and he was emotional about it and angry, and and then he finally resolved himself to wear a different pair of jeans.
I remember.
So I think that's great if that is the only loss you've had in your life, the only change you've had is that your pants weren't dry when you wanted to wear them. That is a great thing.
Okay. Other things nowadays.
But that's not likely. That
the way interact people, the way interact, uncles and aunties, relatives even, because they live separate. You cannot get together. That's a huge change. That way,
Yeah, we can't hug anybody. We're doing air hugs, which I'm, I just got used to doing real hugs coming from the mainland, and yeah, people can't come together as a family. People.
hug 'em
Some
now.
people you can't hug. We're wearing masks. Not everybody wants to wear a mask, but it's strongly advised because it protects other people from your breath in case you're infected. We're not wearing a mask because we live together and we quarantine together. But outside of here, we are always wearing our masks and
at the office, that's huge change.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, so our services, we're trying to figure out how to go forward in terms of providing services and
even how we play.
How we play together and that's sweet. And just, how kids can play. It's just so difficult. I don't even, it's just, we've been doing all these online groups and online trainings and activities to continue to engage with and connect with our families. We've asked them what would make you feel safe coming back together, if we were to do in-person services, when would you feel comfortable, getting their input. We've always been a believer in having the input of those we serve with how we serve and this is one of those times that we really need to hear from our participant families as well as our volunteers and our, so we're all working really hard to figure this out and to be able to come back together. And until then, welcome to Inside Times. These are the times we spend inside, quarantined together. These are the times that we are having to go inside ourselves and work on ourselves, face our own frustrations, our own losses, the grief in our own lives. These are the times that going inside and looking at those parts of our lives and working on how we can move forward in our own path and our own transformation, because grief is the energy of transformation. Grief is what we need in order to change. When change is thrust upon us, forced upon us, we initially resist. We don't want to change. I think in the paper, Mother was telling me that it was saying that in 50 years, this is the first time we've had a poll that showed people are at their unhappiest.
Unhappiest?
Unhappiest. We've had a poll in the paper for many years, and it's always been Hawaii's one of the happiest places on earth. Well, not anymore, but I don't think there are any, and any places that are feeling really happy about where we're at as a nation and in this pandemic. And I sometimes think about not so long ago, a little over 20 years ago, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have this kind of venue for staying connected, and how will that affect how we grieve, because we can still stay connected and we can still be a part of each other's lives. So it's, a lot of new things on the horizon, a lot of change facing us. We've been very fortunate to survive well during this pandemic and to be able to manage, and not many people have had that kind of fortune. There's so many millions and millions who are struggling, and our heart goes out to them. We know this is a tough time. We know that you're all going through some kind of grief, some kind of loss in your lives, be it a person, a place, an object. We've all gone through change. We haven't all been traumatized, although a lot of people have, but we've all gone through change. Even if you had the perfect childhood, you still went through change because you graduated from high school, you graduated from middle school to high school, you maybe got married. There's still changes happening. I had a volunteer I was training one time, And she was like, I don't think I've had any grief in my life. I haven't had any losses. Both my parents are still together and living, and, I've never married or, never really broken up or just never. I was like, wow, I want your life. That sounds awesome.
That'd be awesome.
I love hearing from people who've had happy childhoods, because they are models for me on how to trust people and how to believe in others. That, like, for example, somebody with a happy childhood, I have noticed, tends to believe that people like them. That the people they meet, they like me.
Isn't that everybody?
But coming from somebody with a traumatic childhood, my first impression is they're not going to like me. I'm pretty sure they're not going to like me. And that's just
yourself
the impact.
don't like yourself.
Well,
sometimes.
yeah, that's the problem, is self-hatred with trauma. But I was training this volunteer, wonderful young lady, and she started talking a little bit about herself and her life. And one thing she mentioned was that she was a star athlete at her high school until she injured her knee. And after that, her athletic career had ended, because you can't come back from a severe knee injury in the field of athletics, right? I was kind of like, oh, that sounds like a significant loss, And so then she was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That was a huge change in my life. Let's see, what does Naomi consider to help me tremendously with my grief and trauma? Oh, you're so sweet. I couldn't thank you. And, oh, thank you. Oh, you're so sweet.
Young mom.
Oh, I wish I could see you again. Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
It's good to hear from you. It's been a long time since we've heard. You grew up and you went on about your own life, and you've done really well, it looks like. I hope you're happy, because right now happiness is a hard thing to come by in this day and age right now with this pandemic and all that. I hope everything's going well for you, Naomi. And thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Say hi to mom.
Yeah. So we'd like to keep our support groups going. We've been able to provide services for free over the years. going on 20 years now. Free services for families going through grief
19 and a half
and trauma.
Almost.
Yeah. And we'd like to keep doing that, but we can only do that with your support. So all of you listeners, if you have a chance to see this program, please consider making a donation. Any amount helps. If 1 million people gave $1, we'd have $1 million.
That's $1 million.
So, so everything helps. Encourage your friends, share with your Facebook friends, to support grieving and traumatized children to receive free services. Oh, Naomi says, it has. Thank you. We should definitely reconnect. Thank you. And yes, it is. I found my happiness. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that and see that. Thank you so much for tuning in, Naomi. It's awesome. So everybody, if you have any questions, Naomi, while you're at it, or anybody listening has a question, please, this is a great time to get information, or just share what you're going through. I'm sure you're not the only one. There's a lot of people out there, and we need to stay connected, at least in terms of how we're coping and that we're coping, and sharing resources with each other. It's one of the beautiful things about Kids Hurt Too, is that we come together in these support groups, parents helping parents, children helping children, teens helping teens. They're going through the same process. They're working on many of the same struggles, and they have resources. People found different resources. I love it when we're doing a parent group and the parents start saying, oh, have you tried this? Or, they're like, oh, I'm having trouble in this area now. Oh, have you tried this? Have you gone to this resource? This is something that might be helpful, and they start to share resources, and it's beautiful. It's like, and these families have made friendships and stay connected outside a group and have been connected for many, many years. Some of the children, we get involved in community activities because I've often thought of us as their social director. So because the single parents are busy trying to keep it together, trying to get, you know, food on the table, keep a place to live, you know, they're grieving, they're going through a lot. They don't have a lot of time to help their children stay connected to the community and involved in extracurricular or social activities that are not associated with their school. But there's a lot of good resources here on Oahu and in Hawaii in general. And I'm sure every community has a ton of useful resources. And so we have
great people in the community.
Yeah.
So many great people.
Yeah, we've partnered with so many over the years that, you know, it's 3 or 4 pages, lists of people and organizations that we've connected with. And it's because people want to support children, and children need our support. You know, we want to be there for them now while they're children so they don't grow up. Then they have to work on it. Then they have all these problems.
It costs lots of money.
And they have to go to therapy, or they have trouble in their relationships because they haven't done the work in their childhood to transform themselves.
It's kind of lifetime investment.
It is.
Going to the group, you know, you just process and, you know, in a fun way. And it is, and then I share with other, you know, children who have not same but similar, you know, experiences. You know, because every loss, every death is different. But you know, if you have that kind of, you know, the time and, you know, places and share with other children, other people, other teens, those are, you know, I wish I had that one, you know.
Yeah, me too.
But we you know, a different way. You know, it wasn't a safe way. And then after I took training from you, that was a huge change in my life.
That was kind of the first time you even were able to acknowledge your loss and to feel what that felt like.
No, I didn't even think about myself as a griever. And I was traumatized. I kind of, what? I'm not. You know?
I think a lot of people have that because we compartmentalize it. We put it in a little box and we file that away, and it just leaks out, you know, and it interrupts our relationship. It interrupts our dreams. It interrupts our sleep. I mean, there are so many different ways that grief or trauma can interrupt who we want to be and how we function in life. And so coming to some resources to work on that, to process that, to make that transformation in yourself. Because life will kick you around until you change. If you don't take charge of your life and say, I'm going to be better for this, you know, I'm going to make this pain worth something. I'm going to turn it into something useful, something valuable, something that can be treasured. And I think when children come together and parents and teens come together, they're actually creating something valuable, not only for themselves, but for each other.
It's hard to do it, work on your grief and yourself. It's impossible.
In isolation.
Yeah.
Without anyone else. It's just like this inner dialogue that goes around and around and never ends. And, you know, it's really difficult. You get stuck in this loop of inconsistencies, you know, irrationalities. You know, it doesn't work. I mean, and I don't really think that grieving people need therapy. I think they need support. And only somebody who's gone through what you've gone through, who's had an experience similar to yours, can really understand. I know a lot of people want to support a grieving person. And so the best thing you can do is give them the information about what's out there, what is available. There are a lot of support programs, support groups in Hawaii for adults. But we're it for children on Oahu. I mean, maybe there's some.
Yeah.
There's a few others for children who've had a death. There might be one other thing for children who had a loss from divorce.
Ongoing is kind of hard to find.
It's ongoing, and we're an ongoing open-ended group model, so children come as long as they want. And we've had children come at 5 and stay till they're 17. You know, they decide. They know. Children actually know what they need. And if you provide them with the resources and the opportunity, they will choose what they need. And if you don't, they'll choose whatever's in front of them, whether it's good for them or not, whether it's safe or not. Because they know that this has to come out. They know they have to process this. They know this energy needs to be expressed and transformed. And they don't really have a choice in a sense. It's an impulse. It is a life impulse. It is the growth energy. And so they don't really have a choice. All they have are what's in front of them. The choices they can make are what they're given. So you give them, you know, good choices, healthy choices, safe choices. They will choose what is good for them. They will choose what best meets their needs. But if all they have are, you know, negative peer groups, that's a peer group, by the way, but probably a negative one. So then they'll choose that because they need a peer group. They need the feeling of belonging, a place, a group that has a common interest, right? And so if you don't give them a healthy, safe group, they'll pick whatever's available. Unsafe people, they'll choose whoever's available. Unsafe behaviors, they will choose whatever's available, even if it's not in their best interest in terms of the outcomes, the consequences. So our real goal as parents, as providers, is to
adult in the
provide
community,
them,
you know, be there for as a safe person,
yeah,
you know, for the grieving, traumatized children. That is so crucial.
yeah,
Especially more also after so many people, so many children got traumatized. So I know it's hard for even adults, you know, to be there for themselves, you know, because they have to, you know. But more so we need more adult, great role model, you know.
And at Kids Hurt Too, we teach you the skills that you need through our training to interact with children as they grieve or to support children as they heal from trauma. So we teach you those skills, and they're really very simple skills, but it's not how we're used to interacting with people. So you have to learn, you have to practice, you have to develop the capacity to be in relationship, to do interactive participation, because we are always participating. We are always interacting with everything around us, but we're not always fully aware and conscious of what that means to ourselves and what that means to others, especially as it relates to children.
Right. In the training, you know, that's, you know, training changed my life. But anyway, one of the you know, the children, and she's now 16, going to be 16, and then she wants to take a training. And another, you know, that little girl who used to be started as a little girl. Like I think she started at 7 or so after her father died, and you know, now she's going to be 16 and she wants to take a training, and you know, and then we have the KK, Devon, you know, and then Karen, and,
Some of our participant children have come back because you can take the training as young as 16.
Lauren,
they've come back and become facilitators, and so they're paying it forward. They're giving back what they received, and it's really one of the greatest parts of, I think, this field for me is seeing that shift going from I was supported, now I want to support others.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And to see the young people coming in and being those facilitators with other children. Of course, now, you know, we're here. We're all at home. We're all inside. And we do have some participation in the online groups that we're doing.
Right, a little bit smaller numbers.
We have some of the youth that have been participants coming back in the online groups to participate as facilitators as well. So that's nice, but it's so much more meaningful and special to have that individual contact. I mean, we don't work with individuals; we work with groups. But sometimes, you get that chance
We can do online
to
training.
talk, and a lot of Inside Times is offered
that's right.
training. There's certain parts of training that we can't really do online, which is about doing your own personal journey, because part of training is applying it to yourself, not just learning grief and trauma theory, but going inside and understanding your own grief process and understanding how trauma has impacted your life.
Can you do it? With everybody has a,
I don't
think it's
know
possible.
if I can. I would.
Like I remember we tried to do it, in Japan. I mean, Japanese people and people in Japan. And,
Online?
Yeah.
We did? Training?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
You don't.
Sorry. You remember that, huh?
Yeah.
I
That
know.
was a
Well, that'd
request
be
from people.
awesome. Oh, yeah. There was a request.
Because
That
all
I
we have to do is
remember.
we do it, and they try to get together a couple people, then 2 people.
That's
then
true. That's
you can
true.
do collage and time bold and big
Yeah.
journal. You can do it,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
they have to
Somebody
bring-
has to bring people together. Otherwise, my concern about doing online training and that particular part,
right.
the lecture part is easy.
No,
we
it's a
can
no-brainer.
talk all day about how to work with grief and trauma in children, but to actually work with yourself, my concern is that
Right.
people would be doing that in isolation, and then that would bring up a lot, and you wouldn't
That's
have
a
that
reason.
support
Right.
to process what was coming up for you. And I think that's a key piece in terms of becoming a safe person, is recognizing what our grief looks like, and recognizing when it comes up. Because when you work with grieving and traumatized children, your own grief and trauma will come up. It's not like you can stop it. It will, because it can't do anything else. There you are. It's in your face. You're there. Children are talking about it. Children are processing it. If you have anything in your own experience that's a result of loss or trauma, it will come up. And so it's so important to get that training and be able to work with yourself and gain those skills for working on yourself. And part of that process is having a support system when you're doing that. Now, when we do the trainings, we say, this isn't a therapy group, this is a training. So we do have to provide some safety parameters so that people can process these intense experiences without becoming overwhelmed or without collapsing, is kind of a word I tend to use, into themselves. And so we have to provide that safety for them as well. But having that support group there to process that. And we invite them to do it in a similar way that children do it, symbolically. That's the thing we can't do online, is provide that group. And maybe I'm just limited in my understanding of what technology can do, and I'm learning. I'm in a learning process. Yeah.
You are tech savvy one. I'm like old school. Old school. Computer savvy,
Yeah.
Like
Well, I only know enough based on my efforts at learning.
Because you read. I just do it.
Yeah. Now, you think that's a gender difference?
No. That's me different.
That's you and me.
Yeah.
I read the.
we.
I read the instructions.
Instruction, and
You
I just
get
do
in
it.
there.
Yeah. Nowadays I started
Which kind of
reading.
makes me a little crazy sometimes,
Really?
But I just come on, read the instructions. Like, I don't need.
And then ended up, how do you do this? That's always part of me.
Yeah, we're working on it.
But there's there's so many things when you're grieving, but doing that, grieve yourself, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to do it on your own, and in isolation from other people when it's other people that you really need. I've always said grieving needs community. We need other people to transform ourselves. We need our community to make the changes that we need to make in order to move forward with our lives. You know, when you have the death of a spouse or a parent, you don't get a choice. You have to get up and keep moving forward.
Right.
But what choice you do have is how you process your own experience so that you can bring who you are now in this moment in time, because it's all we got, in alignment with the love that you've had in your life. And grief really is a form, I think, a form of love. It is a way that we continue to love.
Because you love that person.
It's just
you
a
grieve.
different way of loving. That's right. You wouldn't grieve for somebody you didn't have love for or care about in some way, or
How
have
that
a
you love.
connection
Yeah,
to. That's not going to go away.
right.
But how you change with that new way of being in relationship, that new way of loving, that new way of staying connected is key to how happy you're going to be in your own life going forward. Doesn't mean you won't miss them anymore. Doesn't mean you won't have bad days. It just means that when those times come up, you have some resilience, you have some strengths that you have built into yourself to be able to take that next step. Because when those things come up, it means this is your next point of transformation. This is your next shift in yourself and in this connection you have. Doesn't mean you're ending that connection, because you can't. You know, love and our connections to other people are eternal. You know, if you look at quantum physics, if I may indulge myself for a moment, but we do know that once energy is connected in any way, that connection is eternal, and it doesn't matter how far apart you are. You could be on the other side of the universe. If something in that energy changes, then instantly something on this energy changes. So we are always connected, always, always, always. Once you have a connection, it's called what's called spooky actions at a distance. That's what the guy with the white hair, Einstein, called it.
Oh, I was thinking about New Age professor from a statistics class.
Oh.
Mr. Fisher, Dr. Fisher.
That guy with the white hair.
Or Back to the Future too.
Yeah. No, Einstein.
Oh, the Einstein's
Albert
no.
Einstein.
Oh, yeah. That's a dog from the movie. Sorry. Yeah. Can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
You know, nowadays, you know, lots of the violence, happening in the mainland and also here too. But just like
Talk about
people
the need for change.
Yeah, people who, like for example, Atlanta,
the shooting
and that killed and post, Minneapolis police, and those people, family member, violently taking loved one's life away.
Yeah, that's a complicated grief
that
process.
That is so hard for.
And he was killed on his daughter's birthday,
right.
And that is anytime a murder or suicide happens, that's a complicated grief process because there's so much stigma around those kinds of losses. And there are so many changes that happen in a family's life as a result of those losses. Again, we want to try to minimize the number of changes as a result of one loss. If you have to change where you live, your income changes as a result of a loss. Children have to change schools, children's friends go away, and that happens anyway. Even if they don't move, there's more and more, and the higher the level of changes, the more complicated grief becomes, and the more difficult it is for children to adapt or to cope, or, you know, parents, adults. So yeah, and, you know, bringing that up, it's just our whole culture is going through a change. Our country, a needed change. Nobody wants to change. We all resist change. You know, it's hard. It's hard to change. But change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're alive at all, you've gone through change.
Mm-hmm.
Change is the only thing we can count on. Oh, wait. Oh, death and taxes are the other two. Death, taxes, and change. Those are the things you can absolutely count on in this lifetime.
And deadline.
No. And deadlines? No. Don't talk to me about deadlines. Okay. I'll go crazy on you. Yeah. But yes, so this is a huge time of change in our country and in our communities. Sadly, some of the change is violent, and you know, you wish it could be different. Mm-hmm. But it just seems that cultural change can't happen without upheaval, without first tearing down what was there to begin with, and then rebuilding from there. I don't have any answers for that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it just seems that way, and I just know that the level of grief and trauma that's happening in our country right now is astronomical. Mm-hmm. It was astronomical to begin with, but now it's like more than that. If there is a number that's more than astronomical, it's just we need grief and trauma services so badly to help people, and specifically for me, it's always about the children, because they're our future. So we got to heal them now. Right. We got to give them strengths now. We got to keep them in community and skills for processing grief, understanding what it means to be safe, understanding that there is a safe place and safe people. You know, I've had a teen tell me that she just waited the 2 weeks between groups, because her group was once every 2 weeks. She just held it all inside, all of her grief, until time for group, and knowing she could come to group and then just get it out. She just waited and held it all in. Well, imagine the people out there who's held it in most of their life. You held it in, you know, most of your life up to that point, you know, and you don't know, but your body knows. Yeah, you know, this is the key. You know, you were very, very young, so your grief is pre-verbal. It's in your body. And so while your mind may not know, your mind may not see, oh, this is grief, your body sees it. I mean, how many stories have I heard of parents saying suddenly their children are acting out, and then I say, well, you know, is this a significant time in your family's life? And, you know, they'll look at, oh, yeah, that's when we got divorced. Oh, yeah, that's when they, you know, the parent died. And it's like, okay, now it makes sense. So that's kind of the thing I always look at is this a significant time? It doesn't matter if it's 50 years ago. The body knows. The body remembers. It doesn't matter if they were infants when the loss occurred. The body remembers. Or if they were not even born yet, but in your tummy, the body knows. And it is the body that we're working with in any way, you know. And so children can't give you the words. They can't say, oh, I'm feeling this way because of this. They can't do that. They can just show you through their difficult behaviors, you know. But the body knows. The body remembers. And to have that support system in place and available, and knowing you can come to it when you need it, I've just seen it do amazing things for children and families in general, because you stabilize the parent because they get support, and you stabilize them emotionally, then they're better able to meet the needs of their children, and then the children have a place to learn about safe behavior, to be in a peer group safely. To anybody else join us today?
Jamie, facilitator.
Oh, nice. Hi, Jamie. Good to have you join us today.
We're a group now.
And is Jamie coming to group?
Mhm.
Oh, good.
Online.
Yeah, online group.
Right.
Well, how much more time do we have left?
It's about 3:02. So I
3:02?
we started at
A little late
2:45.
because he was late. His
No, I was in office
yeah, kind
and doing stuff.
and we're doing this from our home, so
Mhm.
you had to come
Because
back from
inside
the
time.
office. This is the inside times. We're all going through these times, and let's somehow be there for each other in any way we can. Reach out to support somebody. Just call and say, if you want to talk, I'll listen. Sometimes that's all people need. I mean, really, and essentially, if I were to teach you one skill that you can develop right this minute without any effort to support grieving people or traumatized people, it would be
Be there. Oh. No. Listen.
good try.
Yeah, listen.
Good try.
Listen.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
No, my question.
Listen.
Listen.
Of course, you have to be there to listen. You had a question?
No. You know, for the kids,
Uh-huh.
what is
Oh, for
one
children.
thing? Yeah, for the children.
Play with them. Play with them. You gotta play.
That's my part. The listening is your.
We call it quality time.
Yeah.
So be there. Don't tell them how to play. Don't direct their play. Don't try to control it. As long as it's play, any topic
Right.
is safe. Just get down on the floor and engage in that game. Participate in that play. And when you connect with children through that play, they feel you are there. They
Yeah.
feel they're not alone. They feel that love.
Love to
It's
play.
quality time, not quantity of time. It's a lot of times we're thinking we should be there more, but actually we should just be there in a deeper, more connected way. And so just getting down. Now as adults, some of us have lost our capacity to play. Not me, no, yes, me.
Okay.
And we forgot. We don't. We're just too responsible for our own good, and
Things take it seriously.
take things very seriously.
How about me?
But you
I
know,
do.
he never forgot how to play. He still plays, and
No, I walk a
I
lot.
think that's something children can teach us is how to play and
Right.
just to be in the moment and to be free
Mm-hmm.
with our imagination
Yeah.
and with our creativity. You know, this is the fun thing about working with
Yeah.
children is
Well, how about second
I'm
things?
learning from
How
them.
about second
What?
things?
You got a second thing?
Play with the kids. I mean, first thing
Wait.
is a play, right?
Wait,
First
that's
thing
not
is a play.
enough. What do you
Two.
think the second thing is? Smile.
Yeah.
That's right. Smile.
How about second
And
thing
talk
for the
sweetly.
Yeah, you're right.
That's really important with working with trauma is
Yeah.
that you're smiling because a smiling face looks safe, and children can only work on their trauma, process their grief when they feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be that safe person, and to do that you got to communicate that you're safe. You smile. You use prosody, which is change the tone of your voice. So you're talking sweetly, and you're saying hi, and you're doing this, and versus so you're doing that now, huh? So you're playing. Okay, you're playing. That doesn't communicate safety. Doesn't communicate connection. Children want to know that you are there for them unconditionally, and that communicates that safety to them. And
Right.
so, second thing, yeah.
What's the second thing
Smile.
with working with adult?
Working with
Okay.
adults, with all ages, children, teens, adults, bring them together, connect them with each other. We need each other.
Right.
And they need that community of common ground. They need to be able to know that people understand. So if you haven't had the same experience as a griever who's maybe a friend or family member in your life, it's important to not say I understand, because you can't
Yeah.
understand, and thank
Right.
God for that. You don't want to understand what they're going through if you haven't been through it. It's too hard. But you can listen and you can learn what their experience is. And, you know, so if you learn anything from Inside Times, I hope you learn to be willing to listen without giving advice, without judging, without telling them it's okay, because it's not okay. None of this is okay. It's hard, and we're all going through it. Some of it in similar ways, many of it, most of it is different.
Right. A lot of people are isolated.
It's important. You know, people don't want to hear it's okay because it's not okay. They want to know somebody's just listening and accepting them where they're at, accepting what they say without judging it or trying to make it better. This is the hard part for parents is they want to make it easier for their children. They want to make it better.
Right. Of course, as a parent.
But you can't do that for somebody else unless you're willing to listen and accept where they're at in that moment. People cannot shift and change until they feel validated where they're at. And this is, I think, maybe a good ending point because this is where our country's at. People don't feel validated for where they're at enough. And until they feel validated for where they're at in the moment, whether it's anger or whether it's sadness or whether it's whatever comes up in the moment, as long as it's safe, if people don't feel validated in that moment, they can't make the changes. No one can make the changes they need to make in order to move forward. So just listening and accepting somebody in the moment is going to help them to move forward, and it's going to make it better. You don't have to give them advice. You don't have to fix it for them. It can't be fixed. It can only be processed. It can only be lived.
Replace and you're gonna take it back and that's a hard.
It is. It is. So good luck everybody with your Inside Times, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Kids Hurt 2 Hawaii's Inside Times. Thank you for joining us, and tune in again. Aloha.
It was fun.